Shed your wings, come down, earthbound, dance with me. Dance with me. Angels sing, they resound, earthbound, dance with me. Dance with me. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the 5th episode of my new podcast, Let's Ask Barb, your number one source for conscious cosmic advice. I'm Barbara With. I'm an author, a composer, and a psychic channel to an eclectic aggregate of souls hanging out in the afterlife, headed up by none other than Albert Einstein, who call themselves the Party, who've been inspiring us for decades to work for world peace. This show is dedicated to the questioneers, those of you who ask those uncomfortable questions that drive the chaos of change. So I invite my friends on, they bring their burning questions, we live channel the answers with Einstein and the Party, and then basically we watch and we are amazed. So today I'm joined by someone who embodies the curiosity of conscious living. She's the host of the Midlife Rebel Podcast, my friend from Australia, Nadine Shaw. She invites this deep conversation today about health and purpose and the children. In that conversation, we hit this crossroads where the future is actually meeting something very old within us. We hear so much about the advanced technologies, other healing innovations, and while it's easy to focus on the technology itself, what's emerging is something much more profound. These advancements aren't really about more technology, it's about remembering something ancient within us. Humanity began its relationship with healing through nature, through intuition, prayer, and an understanding that the body and the spirit weren't separate. Somewhere along the way, the healing model became externalized, something that was done to us, rather than something activated from within us. For all of the true progress that has been brought, it's come with a cost, a disconnection from ourselves. So maybe technologies like the med beds are transitional tools that are getting us back to the basics. They're like bridges between the old way of relying on intervention and this new way of reclaiming our own innate capacity to heal. And this is also apparently showing up with the children who are coming in. They're not fitting into any of the boxes that we created for us to live in. They seem to question systems instinctively. These aren't questions meant to predict timelines or anything. They're just invitations to widen our lens, to consider that evolution doesn't always look like faster machines or bigger systems. Sometimes it means softer hearts and deeper awareness and an alignment to compassion and working for the good of the whole. As you listen today, put aside your skepticism, but also put aside the blind belief. Just let it be a space of curiosity, a space where ideas can gently land and just feel them rather than immediately judging them. And you don't have to agree with everything you hear. You only have to notice what resonates, because ultimately the conversation isn't about med beds. And honestly, it's not really about the children either. It's about who we are individually becoming and what we are finally remembering. Well, welcome, Nadine. I'm so happy you are here to be our questionnaire of the week. And you have been so gracious to host me on your show a few times. So I know you're a great questionnaire. Share with me what you have brought today.
Thank you for welcoming me on, Barbara. I'm looking forward to hearing the answer to these questions. How is medicine going to change with advancements in medbed technology?
Aha. Now there's a question that hasn't even arisen ever that I've heard. So great. Okay. So how is medicine going to change with the medbed technology? All right, let's just take a couple breaths and let go, turn our focus inward, and we'll do our invocation. We will command that only the most divine light shine down upon you at this time, and the greatest good be present here. The advancements in medicine that are taking place right now are almost beyond description. And this is due to two sides of this evolution of medicine. And the first side is the technology. As you know, the technology in medicine is becoming more interactive with the actual physiology of the human body. Medicine began in a very natural form in the beginning of humans discovering what plants do, what kind of foods do what kind of focus. And we say focus in terms of shamans or witch doctors or whoever the healer was in the indigenous tribes had a focus. That also included prayer, that is very powerful and very effective. And there came a time in the development of the medical industry where the powers that be were moving humans away from that connection and into a more synthetic process where pills and external therapies having to do with medicines that were being developed to combat the diseases. And part of the challenge of that was that ultimately, on a spiritual level, it's not that they don't work, but they're not the root healing that takes place. They're a temporary fix when medicine became that away from nature, pointed away from your connection to the earth and the natural materials. But what's happened is in the past, however many years, the past 100 years, 70 years, the rising of human consciousness began to take back that power to the human healing themselves rather than medicine healing the human. And it's been a slow progression through the years, but because of this consciousness raising, it also has raised the consciousness of those healers and physicians who saw a higher way. And they began employing processes like meditation, like feeling emotion, and even psychology to a sense, was getting the human back to their own healing mechanism that's naturally in place. Now, ultimately, medicine is going to evolve past even these med beds. This is an interim part of the evolution where you're pulling the human's energy into an alignment that's going to work from within. And even though it's externally motivated by the medbed, it's operating in a different way than, say, prescription drugs or pharmaceutical drugs, because it is calling upon the natural processes that are in place in the human being and aligning them. It is going to make a huge leap away from that kind of medicine, the dependency on pharmaceuticals. And as it does that, it's actually going to retire itself. In other words, med beds are the next step towards humans embracing their full self-healing power. We actually see that happening much faster, probably, than the med bed itself was developed. Along with that, there are the implants that are being experimented with that are also working on the human's natural ability to heal. We think that probably the next 10 years you're going to see advances in medicine as a self-propelled process, more than you've ever seen before. And it really is the culmination of the humans having this evolutionary internal process, coming forward, learning how to handle and align to compassion, and then those who are inventors and creators creating external sources that are going to help facilitate that. But we see there comes a time where even the implements of healing on this level really become obsolete as humans get into their own power and knowing how to direct that power. So our advice is for all of you who are healers, whether you're healing yourself or you're helping others heal, to explore all of those possibilities with the caveat that ultimately you want the human to tap into their own power and bring that power up to the surface, aligned intentionally to the healing process that the body naturally possesses. And you're going to see this happening with these new generation of children, especially that are coming in the next 10 years, that there's going to be this supernatural ability to heal self much more fluidly, much less painfully, because illness is so oftentimes a painful process. Within the next 25 years, technology is actually going to be surpassed by the power of the human body. Well, thoughts?
Wow.
Yeah.
I had no expectations. It was, very cool. I love that. I love that it's part of a process that we're actually going to move beyond that. And that's actually going to happen relatively quickly, like within the next 10 years. But I also love that it's part of our evolutionary process to remember that we have the ability to heal ourselves. I love that too.
Yeah, I like that process too, because I'm somebody personally, I don't take anything. I don't want a med bed. I don't want a pharmaceutical. And I don't want any of that. And I want the answer to be, it's just us. But it really does make sense that it's a process. When you're talking about a med bed, I'm not fully sure of how that works. Are you?
No, I've interviewed one person on my podcast who is working with med beds, but it really is about tapping back into some ancient technology.
Oh.
The guy talked about Egyptian technology and how that there was very big advancements in sort of energetic healing then, and it's sort of rediscovering that with the med beds. It's kind of beyond medicine. I guess a simple example of the first step in that particular process would simply be the red light therapy, using the energy of the sun as a healing mechanism, but putting it into technology. Crystal healing, the energy of the earth and how we can kind of channel that. I think that's what med beds are sort of tapping into, that kind of technology. So
they were right.
Yeah.
I was so surprised. But...
Yes. So they were right. They knew what they were talking about.
Exactly. Cool.
So I do feel like that med beds are actually a step in us learning that there's ancient technology from different civilizations that we are beginning to learn the power of, or remember the power of, and just sort of putting them into different ways of use, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I want to link that episode.
Cool.
Down there. So.
Yeah, sure.
Great. And we'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. Hi, this is Barbara with. People often ask me, what's it like to have a reading with Einstein in the party? Consider this. There's psychics who can literally read your mind and your energy. Then there's mediums who talk to those who have passed over. And then there's channelers. They go into the divine intelligence and bring back information, translating a message just for you. I am a channeler, and in my readings, we step into this sacred space where the noise of all the world drops away, and you can finally hear your own higher self. You quiet your mind, open your heart, and connect with your higher wisdom that's always there guiding you. We'll look at your life from a higher perspective, your origins, your current path, your purpose, and your potentials that are all waiting to unfold. You'll get practical, loving guidance about what's ahead and how to align with your greatest good and move forward with confidence. People so often leave their sessions feeling lighter, more hopeful, more confident. They tell me they finally understand what's been happening and, more importantly, what they can do for the greatest good. And I love that because this is what these sessions are for, to help you take back control of your own life. So if you're wondering what your higher power is trying to tell you, maybe it's time to book a reading. Go to barbarawith.com/readings or send me an email at info@barbarawith.com. And if you act now, use promo code Einstein and get 40% off your first reading. I know you have another question.
I do.
Okay.
I actually have two, and it's really interesting because they tap into some of the things that were said in response to question number one. Can you give me a number, 1 or 2? And I'll just go with that question.
2.
Because I've got 2. Okay. What is the purpose of the children being incarnated onto the planet at this time?
The children, especially the children that are coming in right now, are going to be so evolved past what we can even describe. They are bringing with them a unity. And this generation that's coming now isn't even going to have a moniker. It's not an X, a Y, a Z, a this or that. These are the forerunners of the new earth and the new humans. You've seen through the years the indigo children, the children who are coming in naturally evolved, teaching their parents. What's going to happen now, most importantly, is there's going to be a lot of children who remember the death and birth cycle, as has been true, say, in the Tibetan culture, that as they're looking for the Dalai Lama, they travel with items that the Dalai Lama had owned through the many lifetimes. And then there's a child who emerges to remember, oh yes, this was my life. These were my things. This is going to become so much more common. It won't be so difficult for families who are having these children to teach them, because there has been enough evolution and enough progress through the many years that it's not going to be crazy strange when your child starts to remember the life that they had lived and how it felt coming down the birth canal. That's not going to be shunned or rejected. In that, there's a freedom that they bring, a freedom from oppression, of self-doubt, of limitation. We say it's hard to describe because it's so hard for the average human in this day and age to really fully understand what it's like to live in that kind of sovereign freedom. Most of you have had to fight your way through patterns of your life or past lives and go through a lot of struggle and suffering to find the light and to find alignment. And it's been a wonderful hero's journey. But those days are coming to a close. The idea of the children being born in this most fully whole form that humanity has ever been birthed in before will be then able to be supported by so many of the humans who understand, at least theoretically. Of course, they'll be teaching everyone. The inventions and the creativity are really going to excel. And when that happens, alongside with this sort of community and international evolution, where the new generations, they don't understand war. They want peace. They aren't going to be bullied into thinking otherwise. This whole movement of this generation that's coming in. And that in turn triggers the adults who didn't grow up that way, who grew up with endless war, to be able to vision even more so through their children a world where there doesn't have to be that kind of infighting. This is civilizations in the making. It's also a lot of humanity going through the struggles of learning and struggling and finally feeling like they're getting to this place where the universal truth and the spiritual awareness and reality, much like the idea of transcending the medbeds, transcending the wars and creating, what does the world look like without wars? Where does all that resource go? It requires creative minds, inventions, organizing of communities into different kinds of activities that bring great value to the whole community, that bring people together on a human level. And that's the irony of this, is that in all of the technology that you're seeing today, especially the children who have phones in their faces, that this generation is not going to be that interested in that. They're going to want the trees and the water and the animals and the community and the love. And so this is really that beginning of a very long cycle that's going to bring this peace to the planet. Well, I like that answer.
That sounds very promising, doesn't it?
It just makes sense, having lived through the changes, like they were talking about the indigo children, and
yes,
and seeing these new kids coming up where they're so much more whole than we were when we were, those of us, well, I'm going to turn 71, so I have those, but so it just makes sense that there's that next level of almost leadership, right?
Yeah, I'm 51. I had my kids late in life and I never really wanted children. And then I got to my sort of late 30s, early 40s and I had my first child. And I began to feel then that the world's a pretty messed up place. I don't really want to bring children into it. But then there was that feeling of these children are going to be the change makers.
Yeah.
And that is obviously something that is going to become more and more present as the message you just channeled has said. And also, I think at the moment, those children that are starting to come through that are different, and we can see that they're different. Currently, a lot of them are still being we're trying to put them into a box because they're different.
Yeah.
Let's give them medication, for example, to make them more like us. Whereas I think that the message that you channeled sort of says we're going to begin to accept them more for those differences and understand that they're here to teach us about that change that's coming.
Yes, and I see that setup because of some of the changes that are happening in the medical systems right now, how they're, at least here in the United States, we're starting to not make everybody have to have vaccines. There's more options opening up for different kinds of ways that we heal and deal with things so that by the time they're here, we can be ready to not put them in a box.
Yeah, definitely. And I love that there's going to be inventions and creativity and a whole sort of like, where does this energy go? as we sort of come back together, where do we put all of that energy that we've been using for fighting?
Right.
The
idea that they're not going to want to have those phones in their faces. They're going to want the trees and want the water and want the community. I totally see that happening. I just do.
And again, I think that is almost a reflection of the process that we've been going through since the beginning of 1999, 2000, where we've had all of that technology, we've had all that exposure, and we've started to see the negative outcomes. There are some positive ones, obviously, like you and I connecting right now.
Yeah.
But for children, the negative outcomes, and people are becoming more aware of not letting their children be exposed to those technologies so early on in their childhood. That's almost like coming full circle, isn't it? Like with the children that are coming in now, the parents are going to be much more conscious of avoiding that exposure, as we've learned from the last 25 years.
Yeah, and I think the change in the parent and the understanding of the detrimental things of being too technology oriented inspires the parents. I saw this clip on whatever social media I was on, and it was just this clip of kids who were swimming in some sort of pond that was really muddy. And so they would jump in the pond and they'd just get covered with mud, and they'd come running out and just laughing and then jumping back in the mud. And their parents were like, "Go jump in the mud." And I thought, that's the spirit. That's the kind of return to our feet on the ground, our bare feet in the grass, and taking ourselves out to nature and letting nature guide us too. And I love the two they were talking about them remembering, sort of like the Dalai Lama, remembering those things. I see that. I see that emerging in some of the kids that I'm encountering now.
Right.
So maybe it'll just be common.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely an interesting time to be alive.
That's right. Oh, well, thank you so much for those great questions.
Oh, thank you for sharing your answers. It's been great.
Well, thank you so much, Nadine. Oh my gosh, that was fun. We're going to go to a commercial break, but come back. Have you ever felt like you're living inside a simulation? Like there's a deeper structure running beneath everything? Are you fascinated by consciousness and want to understand how the matrix actually works and how to master it? Well, I have produced this masterclass just for you. Conflict Revolution, the masterclass, is a self-paced journey of 17 videos I've crafted with cinematic production meant to pull you right into the heart of the work. The soundtrack is designed to amplify the transformational energy of each session. Every lesson taught by me includes guided exercises and downloads you can explore at your own pace, in your own rhythm, any time of day or night. This course is for seekers and thinkers, intuitives and scientists, and anybody who knows there's more to reality than we've been taught and who wants to become the change and contribute to the greatest good. You'll study the map of human consciousness, the matrix itself, and learn how your thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations are components of a bigger operating system, and why compassion isn't just a feeling, it's the fifth fundamental force of the universe. And this is where the revolution begins. When you learn to master your own energy field so you can consciously and intentionally participate in creating your own life. Discover how to make choices aligned to compassion and to keep your personal operating system running smoothly, even in the most turbulent of times. And trust me, it's a full-time job. People who take the masterclass, they often tell me everything just sort of clicks and the simulation makes more sense. Their purpose becomes clearer and they're empowered to navigate their reality with the intention to align to compassion. So when you're ready to understand the machinery of your own consciousness and step into the mastery of it, then join us. Go to barbarawith.com/courses and click on Masterclass. Use code Masterclass20 for 20% off. Shed your wings, come down, earthbound. As we come to the close of today's episode, I want us to take a moment to let everything we've explored just settle. Because these conversations aren't really meant to be rushed past. They're meant to be felt. What we touched on today really wasn't about med beds as a device or even about the children as a concept. It was about a larger arc, this arc of remembrance. Remembering the intelligence that already lives inside our bodies. Remembering our relationship with nature, with energy, and with one another. And maybe most importantly, remembering our own domain and taking care of our own sovereignty. So much of modern life has taught us to look outward for the answers, look for permission, for authority, for healing, for validation. And yet what keeps surfacing again and again, whether it's through our spiritual practice or these emerging conversations, is just the truth. The body knows. The soul knows. And I think humanity is in the process of relearning how to listen. The angels told us that decades ago, and that is a large part of the work that we do here. I hope you feel hope after this. I do. I'm so optimistic, and not hope like denial, but of recognition. Recognizing that something new is forming from something that's so embedded in us, we don't even have a language or the structures to fully describe it. And if you're feeling unsettled or stretched, that's okay too. Growth often asks us to loosen our grip on what feels familiar before we can step into what really feels like the truth. And the children we talked about today, the ones that are arriving now and in the years ahead, they aren't here to be fixed. And they certainly won't be molded into our old systems. They're here to bring the new and to reflect something very important back to us. So as you move about your day or your evening, I invite you to carry one simple question with you. What are you remembering about yourself that you once forgot? And thank you so much for being a part of this space. Thank you for listening with an open heart. And thank you, Nadine, for bringing such thoughtful, soulful questions into the circle today. Until the next time, be gentle with yourself, stay curious, and trust that you are far more capable, wise, and connected than you are ever been led to believe. And one last thing, this is not medical, legal, or psychological advice. This is just conscious cosmic insights given freely for you to consider and decide for yourself. So go forth, keep your heart open. Don't forget to breathe. And whatever you do, don't stop asking questions. Looking for mercy in a cruel, cruel world, where paragons are vagabonds. So, do you have a burning question? Would you like to become a questionnaire? Email me at info@barbarawith.com or call the questionnaire hotline 917-397-0290. That's 917-397-0290. Leave your burning question, and I might even invite you to be on the show.